Hello again, everyone. This is Bob, and this is another video from me. But first, I wanted to just introduce you to my character, Ghost Girl. She is a supernatural superhero, and currently I am working on her first issue, which should be completed in the next month or two, at which time I will do a Kickstarter in order to get funds to print the comic for anyone who may be interested in purchasing it. I'm a comic book artist, and it's all I've ever wanted to be. So I started this YouTube channel in order to share my love of comics and to maybe, to try to get my name out there. So anybody, if you're watching this and you like the video, please do me a favor and hit like. It'll help my channel grow. But without further ado, I am going to be talking today about something that I think most people will want to see, considering that the first video I did in this series got a lot of views in a very short amount of time, and it's one of the more popular videos I did, so I decided to continue on with it. And that will be for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons #2. Okay? Again, this is one of my favorite comics growing up because I'm a comic book fan and a Dungeons and Dragons fan. So if you do this, then you're just this is peanut butter and jelly. Okay, this is a perfect combo, and I was 100% invested. Not to mention, some of the characters in here were kind of blowing my mind because they were outside of the D&D norms, and it was something that I just really got into. As you can see here, we have a dwarven rogue, and we have a centaur warrior. I loved it. I love that whole idea. And you can see they're fighting the undead. So the cover is already giving you some great stuff. He has this dual-bladed sword here. Now, when I got into Dungeons and Dragons, was a few years, just a year or two before Willow came out. And I remember going to the movies with my friend to see that, and it just like instantly became one of our favorite movies of all time. My friends were very much into fantasy adventure, and that movie just did it for us. Now, in that movie, there's one of the characters named Eric has a gauntlet sword, right? And it's just a gauntlet with a blade coming out of the front of it, and it was just incredibly awesome. We loved that idea. I don't know, combining things sometimes is just like the best thing. So my brother and I would sit there for hours on end and just create our own weapons, and most of those weapons were some kind of variation on that gauntlet sword. So you'd have like a gauntlet crossbow, or the gauntlet dagger thing that eventually ends up in Assassin's Creed, things like that. It was just a thing that we were into. We were always creating these new weapons that we thought nobody had ever seen before. We had this double-bladed sword, which I basically took from this comic. So that's what I remember when I see this sword. But let's get into the book itself. So the story is by Michael Fleischer, and art, again, is by Jan Duursema. Jan Duursema did most of the artwork for this series. There's a couple of issues down the line that were done by, I believe, Rick Magyar. And maybe one other artist did one issue at one point. But for the majority of it, we're getting Jan Duursema, which is just awesome because, again, I was really into her artwork. Okay, so here we go. We have the heroes. Apparently, they left Saloon Smile, and they have a plan. They need to help Agrivar, who, as we can see here, is just a drunk. And if you remember from the last video, he was hit with a staff of withering, which sapped all the strength from his arms. I find that to be hilarious because while his arms are withered and seem to have kept the same length, his hands shrunk into baby hands. And again, I just think that is hilarious. But basically, they're just talking about, how far gone Agrivar was. He used to be one of the more powerful paladins out there, and a very big hero. But now he's just a wino who's like hard on himself or down on himself. And they're going to try to make that better. So they're on their way to find a blacksmith. But before that, they come across this pool of shimmering water. And they're pretty grateful for that because they've been riding for a while, so they stop to play in it, as you can see. And then suddenly that pool becomes a dust digger, okay? These books follow the comic book guidelines that I like to follow. The thing that was like established by Jack Kirby, where you get the double page spread when you do the page flip, the page turn from the first page, and you get this. I think it's spectacular. All of these comics have it. I'm 100% into it. I always appreciated it, and I try to do that with my comics now. Okay, but you see here, everybody's about to be swallowed by this Dust Digger. Okay, then we cut to this demon guy from the first issue. I remember now that his name is Imgig Zu. Okay, it's a weird name. It should have stuck with me, but it didn't. Basically, he is talking to spirits that are trapped within the gem that he was looking for. So that's what's going on. He's trying to release his army, basically, in order to get full power. He's trying to release them from this gem that they were imprisoned in. Okay, and it's the gem is called Saloon's Eye. Okay, so if you can see here, we have Saloon's Smile, which is the tavern. We have Luna, who is the owner of that tavern, and then we have Saloon's Eye. So a lot of stuff here focusing on the moon. We cut back to the action. We have Timoth, Onyx, and Vajra fighting this Dust Digger, and we have Cibriana trying to hold on to Agravar so he does not fall into this Dust Digger's mouth. Okay. Then suddenly they are rescued by this old dwarven blacksmith. Okay, as you can see here, the Dust Digger leaves them alone because apparently that is his pet. Okay, and then Onyx says, "Hey, we're looking for this blacksmith named Jagao, something like that," and he is Jagao. Now we're going to cut back to Waterdeep, where we have these guys beating up some of these other people, as you can see here. Now, if you remember in the first issue, these people were the ones that were beating up on Agravar until he was rescued by Vajra, and then these guys are now beating these people up to get information on where our heroes ended up going. Okay, they did say they would share the bounty because they are bounty hunters, and apparently some of these heroes have a bounty out on them. Said they would share it, but once they found out the information they were looking for, they ended up killing the people, and then just going on to find whoever it was, and to find the heroes. Okay, cut back to the cave of Jagao, while he is telling them, like, yes, I can help them, but why should I? Because it just seems like this guy, all he wants to do is drink. He doesn't seem worthy of my help. And they're trying to convince him, like, hey, look, he's just, he's had a hard time. He lost his strength, he lost his faith. His father was taken from him because of that, and he's just fallen on hard times, and we're trying to get him back to what he was. So the dwarf agrees and says, but first you'll have to do something for me. Then we're going to cut to another scene with some new characters. So we have this man here with a kid on his back. He's carrying, this kid, and he's attacked by wolves. As you can see, there's like a windstorm or something like that going on when this happens. And while he's fighting these wolves, it looks like maybe, he's not going to survive this. And he kind of tells the kid that. And as you can see, this kid kind of has these cat eyes, right? So all of this is, laying the groundwork for something that's going to come up in the future. But the kid points up and he's like, hey, check this out. And this light is shining from the sky. And to be honest, at first that kind of looks like it's a UFO. But it's not. It's just a light shining from the sky, probably from the moon. Okay. And then boom, he appears in Waterdeep right in front of Saloon's Smile, where Luna comes out to greet him. Okay. So saves his life at the last second. All right. So then cut to our heroes again as they are journeying up a mountain to get to Stoner's Needle. Okay. And they're just talking about, Agravar and his drinking issues again. And there is Stoner's Needle in front of them. And they decide to rest for the night before having to ascend that. And again, Cibriana is here talking to Agravar, telling him, she hasn't lost faith in him. She's heard the stories, and that he will once again be a great paladin. And they sit down to rest, and as they do, hands start breaking out of the dirt here, and they are attacked by some undead warriors, okay, some zombie fighters, all right? So as you can see here, everyone gets up and begins attacking. Onyx does a nice thing here where he cuts this guy's head off. That's kind of awesome. Now, in the comics, for the most part, this sword is a gold color, where on the front it was silver. So I actually believe that the sword is gold in future issues. I feel like sometimes there was just something that was maybe lost in notes or something like that to colorists. But they are fighting these guys as these bounty hunters are making their way towards them. Agravar is about to get taken down by this zombie when Vajra jumps up and takes the zombie out for him. And he's just kind of again going on about how worthless he is. And then they ask this dwarf guy if there's any other horrors waiting for them. And the dwarf's like, not that I know of, except maybe this basilisk here, right? I love how he's going to keep that a secret. And can I just say that one of my favorite characters from any comic ever is Vajra Valmijar. I don't know, the whole character design, the whole character just being this great warrior fighter trained in the arenas of Manchaka. All of this I love the backstory. I love the characterization. Vajra is definitely one of my favorites. So, not to mention, Vajra is just unstoppable. Here she is carrying Agravar and this dwarf as she's climbing up this hill or this mountain, the Stoner's Needle. Okay, that's just great. I love all of it. The whole time this dwarf here is telling her, things of the past, some of his origin or something like that, while Vajra is helping Agravar up. And then they come across this, they say that it's stone basilisk. It's not moving. Now again, I feel like the colorist did not get the notes because he did not color this in stone, so it just looks like, a living lizard. But there is the item that the dwarf was seeking, so he ends up giving Agravar these gauntlets of giant strength, and Agravar puts them on, and he's like, yes, I can feel the strength returning to my arms. Now, while normally these gauntlets of giant strength would give you so much more strength added to your own, it's kind of just restoring the strength he already had because of him losing his strength to the Staff of Withering. The dwarf then goes over to get the jewel he was looking for and uses the jewel's power to change him back into a fire elemental. Apparently that's what he was the whole time. Agravar is just like, well, wait a minute now. If this gem can change people back to the way they were, maybe I won't even need these gauntlets. I can just use this gem. But the fire elemental says, that talisman only works its changeling magic once in an eon. So it's going to be forever beyond his lifespan before that jewel has the power to help him. So he's going to have to stick with the gauntlets. As they're finding this information out, this basilisk attacks Vajra. Okay, so it has now come to life. And immediately Vajra's just like, I wish I had carried a reflecting glass with me, because everyone knows, just like a Gorgon, if the basilisk sees its reflection, it'll turn itself to stone. So right now its eyes can turn them to stone if they catch its gaze. Okay? So of course the heroes go to battle, Agravar this time as well. But as they're going to fight, Agravar stops in his tracks. He freezes. He hasn't done this in a while. He's beat himself down for so long over what took place with his father and him losing his strength and his faith and everything. So now he's just frozen, and he doesn't help Vajra, who then gets knocked over by this basilisk, right? And here he is, just basically catching this gaze, and he's about to be turned into stone. When Vajra is just like, I gotta do something, so she ends up throwing this jewel at the eye of this basilisk, and the jewel is shiny. You can see Vajra's reflection here. So when it catches the basilisk's eye, it reflects his image back to him, which turns him to stone, and she saves Agravar yet again. So after that, Agravar now has his strength back, but realizes that it's not just strength that makes a hero, and that he just doesn't have what it takes anymore, and decides that he's going to leave. He's got to work on himself, and yeah, I mean, I say work on himself, but he's basically, I'm just a worthless drunkard. That's what I'm going to do now. So you know, I'm basically, this is what I'm going to be. I've decided that this is it, and I can't fix it. So he rides off into the sunset, not as a hero. And as they're sitting there, kind of sad that this took place and wondering why they even attempted this, they get attacked by the bounty hunters. As you can see, they throw a lasso around Vajra's neck here, and then gather up the rest. And you can see here, he's like, there's a bounty on you. You belong back with the Manshaka slaves. And Vajra's like, I'm not having that. She tries to fight back, but they overpower her, and everyone is taken captive. And as we can see up here, as Agravar was leaving, he sees that they were attacked and taken captive. So now it's, what is he going to do when it's just him by himself, and he is nowhere near the man he used to be? That is the end of issue 2 of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I gotta tell you again, I like the story here, and I love that, they set you up. They even give you the Basilisk. They give you its stats and everything if you want to play this, play out what's going on here in this book. They give you Vajra's stats and backstory and everything. They give you this magical item and tell you what it is and what it does. Seriously, I love this stuff. Now, this is only the second issue, so I don't believe they've received any letters yet for it. So basically, this is just explaining what TSR is, and that used to be the people who published the D&D books before they were bought out by Wizards of the Coast. But again, this is just one of my favorites here. Something I thoroughly enjoy, and I think it's like every other year or so I'll pull out all the books and read them. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comments or by hitting like. Until next time, thanks.